If you got a steady date or if you're going back, if you wanna swing in time that never is a drag. Come on, go bowling, take your baby bowling. Everybody's bowling. What about
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very beautiful day for a very beautiful occasion. I'd like to bring up to the microphone a very special person in the town of Union, Brenda Restivo, from the Township of Union Committee woman.
This day is very, very appropriate for all of us because certainly Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons are a big part of our history. And not everybody that's lived in this town is familiar with the Four Seasons bowling alley. It was taken down somewhere in the past 10 years and replaced with Costco. And I think today what we are doing is we are going to memorialize what the rest of us have known is where the Four Seasons got their name. And this will be forever a reminder to the residents of the Township of Union. And again, we're just so thankful to have all of you here. We welcome all of the guests. And now I know what I need to do to get people to come out to our bicentennial events. Just have Frankie Valli, the Four Seasons, and family members, and all of you will come out and join us. So I'm just really, really very pleased that you're all here today. And welcome to the Township of Union and the new site of Costco at the old site of Four Seasons Bowling Alley. I would now like to ask Committeeman Joseph Florio to come forward to read the proclamation, and I know he has a few words because we both grew up with Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons and have history to remember. And one thing I do have to say, though, that I'm very disappointed of the crowd out here, because with all that music playing, nobody was up dancing. So when this is over with, I expect to see you all out there dancing. So, Joe, please.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Welcome to everybody here to the Township of Union. This is a very special day for us, and I do have a proclamation that we're going to present to the family members of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. But as Brenda said, I would just like to put a few personal words. I hate to admit it, but I did grow up in the 50s and the 60s, and I come from Newark. And I remember Frankie Valli. I know some of my family knew Frankie when he was young, in the Stephen Crane Village area of Newark and a lot of the Belleville area. He said, I didn't even know there was a Four Seasons bowling alley. We used to get a couple of quarters together to go down to the Jersey Shore. That's what a gallon of gas cost back in the 60s, right? I didn't know about Union. That was the hinterlands. But it's amazing that when you read the story, you think about the story about how they did come up here and they got the name and went on to fame, and, you know, there are a couple of songs that propelled them. But, you know, there's a lot of one-hit wonders, as they say, on the rock and roll stations, right? Well, that sure heck wasn't the case for Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, who went on for years and years. And I think, you know, when you talk about music and how it transcends the ages, you can say a lot of the older music is popular with some of us older folks, but when you take a look at the Broadway hit, The Jersey Boys, they don't fill up that theater every single night now for a couple of years with just us old people. There's a lot of young people who are going to those shows who really appreciate the great music of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and really, really the extremely interesting stories of some of us characters who grew up in the Newark area. But some of them became very successful and very popular. And again, like I said, I want to thank all of you, and especially thank the members of the family who could find the time to come out here to Union, be part of our bicentennial celebration. With that, I would like to read this proclamation. We have one for each of the family, and it states this. The Four Seasons Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, presented on June 25th, 2008. Whereas the legendary musical group, the Four Seasons, began almost 50 years ago on the streets of New Jersey. And whereas in 1961, the Four Seasons derived their name from a bowling alley of the same name, once located at 1182 West Chestnut Street in Union, New Jersey. And whereas the Four Seasons were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990, and whereas on June 25th, 2008, the Township of Union herein acknowledges the Four Seasons as a world-famous music attraction with record sales in the millions, and whereas the naming of the street, the Four Seasons Lane, will keep their name and music remembered forever in the Township of Union and around the world, and now therefore be resolved that Clifton People Jr., Mayor of the Township of Union, and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, in recognition of this event, does hereby proclaim June 25th, Four Seasons Day in the Township of Union. Signed, Peter Capides, Joseph Florio, Brenda Restivo, and Anthony Teresa, committee people. Let's hear a hand for the Four Seasons and their family.
I think I would like to take a moment to actually introduce all the children separately. First we have Danielle and Lisa, the Gordio family. Darcel DeVito, Tony Valli, Bob Massey, and Nick Massey's wife, Mrs. Massey. Next, I'd like to thank the manager of Costco, Dennis Dingovan. But first, I'd just like to say thank you to Costco for their enthusiastic commitment to the local community and its rich history, which was right here. They landed on top of the bowling alleys, which was never known back then. That was 18 years ago. Costco and their employees generously provided the chairs, refreshments, and printing of today's event. So we want to say thank you for that. And now, Dennis's associate, Jim Keating. Where's Jim?
Hi, thanks for everyone for coming out today. We just want to, show our support for being a good community member of Union Township. We're glad that everybody showed up today, and we're glad to participate in anything that, to bring history to the Township of Union. Thank you.
There is so much that can be said about Mr. Walt Gollander. Not only about his extensive professional experience in the music industry, which dates back to the group's early beginnings, but also his incredible foresight to come to this very spot in 1989 to photograph this piece of history. Most of us knew about this popular establishment. It has been a part of New Jersey folklore for almost 50 years, but only Walter Gollander realized that if the demolition teams were done, people would wonder what the Four Seasons place looked like. The sign on back of your program is depicted in the Tony Award-winning show Jersey Boys. And with the inevitable rumor of a Jersey Boys movie, this place will one day be known on an even larger scale. So before I bring Walt up, I'd like to extend a huge thanks to him for keeping the history alive, so the rest of the world is lucky to see with their own eyes the sign that the Four Seasons named their group after. Walt, would you please come up?
Jerry and the others have thanked Costco for all of their contributions, and the reason we're here today with the chairs and the water and the good feeling and the good ambiance that we have. But if it were not for Audrey Rockman, where is she hiding? If it were not for Audrey Rockman, she's over there. Audrey Rockman was the first piece of the puzzle, and if she had not contacted James Petrecka, up you go. Say it. Get his good side on the left. Turn your finger. This way. Down, down. There's only so much time we're allotted according to the union. If Audrey had not contacted James in a very, very fortuitous way, I would still be sitting home in West Orange looking at my pictures doing nothing important. So I've had the pictures because I had the foresight to capture something historically that I knew might be germane in the future. So we have two key pieces, starting with Audrey, the bus lady, and beyond, who's made, I believe, 13 visits to Joe Long's house up in Roseland. right? 13. And to James, who's, I can't say enough about you. And without them calling me, I would not be here. So much for the opening to garner your attention. I used to bowl with my girlfriend Sheila at the bowling alley. I would go in to see the music groups because I happened to like music, and I was taken with singers who had high falsetto voices, like Jay Black, a fellow named Al Alberts, who never made it, David Whitfield, who, by the way, people had the first recording of Cara Mia on the London label. Did you know that, Tony? So I was always given to the high voice, whether it was Del Shannon or James Petrecka when he gets excited, and Al Alberts and Johnny Ray, and I realized that I, like many of us, are thrilled by the high falsetto, right? How can you not like something like that? So I would get my Star Ledger dining and dancing page, and I would go out to the clubs, and I would hope one night I would see the Savoys and Stephen Crane Village with the legendary Joe Stefanelli, but he was at the Silhouette in the Mount Prospect Avenue. And I ended up at all the clubs where they had high voice singers, and the Four Lovers were over there. They didn't get the job to continue working there. We have some hostile people here. But I loved them, and I started hanging out with show business people. How's that for nice feedback control, right? I feel like Eddie Ventura on a good day. And the Four Lovers prevailed. They had different lead singers in the background. They had Freddie Carl. They had Hugh Garrity. They had a lot of people filling in, but there was always Frankie Valli with the high multi-voice, octave voice. It fascinated me, and I wrote about him. I wrote the first story ever published in Bim Bam Boom magazine. I thought I had a great story here in 1972, but then Eddie Engel came along and took my story to the next level in Bim Bam Boom, and also caused the poster to fall down. And over here we had a super article by Eddie Engel in Time Barrier Express. Mr. Stefanelli, you have your copy of this, I'm sure. Yeah. And then the best story of all, forget about that. The best story of all, as I mentioned on the Don K. Reed show, and we give credit to other people, James. We give credit to those who deserve credit. Rex Woodard went out to Las Vegas and interviewed Nicky DeVito, the late brother of Thomas DeVito, and he came up with a super story. I was impressed, and it takes a lot to impress me, I think. He even pictures and talks about, this is Rex Woodard, talks about Frank Catana, an accordion player. How many people knew, from Joe over here to my Uncle Harry, did you ever know there was an accordion player in the Varietones? Raise your hands. That's an honest response. Who knew? Who knew? Anybody? Charles, who knew? Here, look. But he wrote a great story from the mouth of Nick DeVito, and it's got pictures of Frankie Valli playing the upright bass, if you will, Mr. Joe Stefanelli, upright bass, which you know about because you were there on Columbia with the worst that could happen. He's warming up today. I'll get a coffee later. Watch the. There's a lot of good in him. Inside stories, inside stories. The Four Lovers became the Four Seasons in 1961. They took the name from there, and we are here. If you want to learn more, don't ask me. I got such a headache, I have to sit down, and I'll be over here in Section A, right next to Charles Alexander. Goodbye and good luck.
Almost 50 years ago, four guys who were known sometimes as the Four Lovers, or the Topics, or the Village Voices, or the Romans, and maybe even the Andrews Sisters, if it would have gotten them a record contract or a club date, auditioned for the owner of a certain bowling alley. It was a desperate move for a group that was desperate. Desperate to get something going, desperate to pay the rent, desperate to find an identity as a group with one name and a new sound. Well, they flunked the audition. That's right, they couldn't even book a bowling alley, which was about as close to rock bottom as you can get in the music business. Fortunately, they lingered in the parking lot outside that bowling alley long enough for one of them to stare for a while at a neon sign that said Four Seasons Lanes and Lounge. Being four Jersey boys, our heroes, Frankie, Bob, Tommy, and Nick, figured that if they couldn't get the gig, they could at least steal the name. Well, folks, the world turns on such moments, and in that moment, the name, the identity, and the sound of the Four Seasons were born. The neon sign is long gone, but three of those four guys are still around. Tommy DeVito, Frankie Valli, and Bob Gaudio, and today there aren't three prouder Jersey boys anywhere. On behalf of all of them and all of their children and grandkids, thanks for putting the Four Seasons name back on a sign in the state that will always define exactly who and what they are.
Thank you, Danielle. And keeping with the family members, her oldest sister, you know, I only do that just to play. Okay, just to start a fight. Lisa Gaudio, the beautiful Lisa Gaudio.
I just want to say, I know my father would love to have been here, and Frankie, but of course we have family issues. We have an illness in our family, and Frankie's got 2 kids graduating, so I just want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting the town of Union, and I think this is wonderful. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Costco. Darcel DeVito.
Here she comes.
My father is very disappointed he couldn't be here as well, but he wants to let you all know that he's very honored for the recognition, and he wants to thank and acknowledge everyone that made this day possible. Thank you. This is the reader of the group.
We have to put it way down here because I take the genes in the family stayed. Of course, my 2 beautiful children, I would like to thank Dario and Olivia Polchi, along with Darcel's children, Tyler and Thomas Collins, and our little guys here, okay? Cyrus and Dylan, Danielle's children. Lisa's children are grown and gone, as we all are praying for on a daily basis. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, my Bobby and my dad put together a little speech, and I'm going to read it for you. They are very, very disappointed that they can't be here, but of course we represent them and are absolutely thrilled. This is really quite an honor in our home state, where we all are still here raising our children on the East Coast. So here we go. From Vivaldi to New York restaurant to a Union, New Jersey bowling alley to 4 guys who made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and now the Four Seasons Lane. Why steal hubcaps when you can steal a name, especially a good one? Both Frankie and I are overwhelmed, and I'm reading this from Bob Gaudio's perspective, just so you know, okay? Because I don't call Frankie Frankie. He'd break my legs. Both Frankie and I are overwhelmed with what has happened to us over the last 50 years. Remarkable, fantastic, unbelievable, lucky, all of the above. But most of all, we are proud to say that this all started in a state that has more loyalty per square mile than any place in the entire world. We thank all of you who showed up today, and even those who didn't. Much, much thanks for the support and love you have given our little success of a show on the other side of the Hudson called the Jersey Boys. A successful invasion, we'd like to call it. One thing we all should never forget. New York is just an island, but New Jersey is the beginning of the United States. Who loves you, baby? Frankie and Bob Gaudio. That's who loves you. Okay? And they were just kind of wondering, just for something for future, that maybe they could put a toll booth on the street because they don't have enough revenue coming in at this point. Okay, and then on a personal note, I would like to say that my father has told me, and I'm very, very proud to call him Dad. He's a lot of things to a lot of people, but to have him as Dad is pretty remarkable. He has always told me to dream and dream big, never to be afraid to dream, that dreams really do come true. These guys came from nothing, all of them, all four of them. Look at what's happened. I mean, this is history in the making. But along with those dreams, you know, just the phenomenon of the explosive nature of what they are doing, have done for 50 years, and are currently continuing to do, is vision. And without that, you know, we have no hope. And without hope, we have no faith. And that being said, all that being said, none of them, not one of them, has ever forgotten where they come from. And that's the most important thing, where you come from. Dream big, but never forget where you come from. It's an honor to be here today. My cousin Joanne is in the audience, who I love and adore. Poppy, who this occasion would not have been complete without his cigar. And very, very dear friends from Stephen Crane Village that I remember from when I was just a young girl. I'm still a young girl, but you know, I was a much younger girl at the time. Joe Stefanelli. Good friends, family, that's what it's all about, and support. Without support, none of this would be happening. Thank you so much. This is an incredible honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Royal Teens, here is Tom Austin.
Well, my name is Tom Austin. I was the drummer in the Royal Teens. I was very proud to be here today because Danielle Gaudio called me up last week and said, would I come down, say a few words, and I was very happy to do that because I was there with Bob Gaudio from the very, very beginning. You know, this is a very, very special site. I could tell you a little bit of a story here. I'll start telling you the story backwards. The last time I was here was almost 50 years ago. I had just come out of the Army, had to go into reserves, and we all had to go into our 6 months and stuff like that. And I came here because Bobby gave me a call and said, I have a job down here with another band. And I said, okay, and I came down here. And we had been on the road for years prior to this. And Bobby and I both looked at each other that night and said, you know, we think the Royal Teens are about finished. He said, I'm starting with this new band. He said, I have a job at a print shop. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm driving a cab in Fort Lee, and I'm painting white lines in the street. We said our goodbyes. I went back to doing other things, and Bobby went back to doing other things. And I'll say, thank God they made it. Let's have it for the Four Seasons. And we said our goodbyes at the Four Seasons Bowling Alley. They didn't even have their instruments set up yet. And Bobby and I gave each other a hug, and we said, we had one hell of a band in the Royal Teens, didn't we? And we said, yeah. And the next address is One Key Plaza in Cleveland. That's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, Bobby in the Four Seasons, or Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, all were inducted into the Hall of Fame. But you know what? The Royal Teens have all their clothes in the museum section of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Our clothes got inducted, but we didn't. And now, thanks to all the good people of Union, New Jersey, this wonderful site is going to be Four Seasons Lane. It couldn't happen to a bunch of nicer guys, and I know Bobby is so appreciative. He's a very quiet guy, but he's got a wonderful heart. And since Since they got to 245 West 52nd Street, which is the August Wilson Theater with Jersey Boys, I was overwhelmed when Bobby sent me an invitation on opening night. I was sitting with Charlie Calillo and Bob Crew, and it almost brought tears to my eyes that he remembered one of the Royal teams after all that time. Thank you.
Those stories just amaze me. I could listen to them forever. Before I go any further, we have two letters here. One is from Joe Long. Joe Long is the one who took Nick Massey's place in 1965, I believe. And this is from Joe Long to Jim Petrecka. Well, we know Jim Petrecka is a sergeant, retired sergeant. He says, "Hi, Sarge. My family and I are leaving for Las Vegas on the morning of the 25th, so unfortunately, I will not be able to attend the ceremony. Sarge, would you please read this to the people who attend the ceremony? I'd like to extend my best wishes to all who attend this very wonderful dedication. I'm sure I speak on behalf of all the guys when I say it's an honor to have a street named after the group. As a native of Elizabeth, I spent a lot of time in Union. It is a wonderful town, and now it is also a town with a great sense of feeling for its history. Good luck to all of you, and I wish I could be there. Joe Long." And we have a letter from Charlie Calillo. For those who don't know what Charlie Calillo is, I'm sure most of you do, he was one of the main arrangers, producers, along with Bob Gaudio on a lot of their albums and songs. Also, Charlie filled in as bass player between Nick Massey's departure and Joe Long's coming to the group. I think he lasted a couple of months because he did not like the road, but this is from Charlie Calillo. "Dear Jim, this is certainly a big honor having a street named after the Four Seasons. When I lived in Union, New Jersey in the mid-'60s, and we rehearsed at my house on Gifford Court, I never realized we would be remembered 40-some odd years later and or have the impact we have had on the music scene and the people. Thank you for your effort in putting this together. It is greatly appreciated. Charles Calillo." And now our next speaker is Audrey Rockman. Like Jim Petrecka and Walter Gollander, Audrey is a person of action. Give her something to be passionate about and she takes it on. What put Audrey on the path leading to today was her passion for the show Jersey Boys. From that, she became intrigued with the history of the Four Seasons and how it began in the neighborhoods of New Jersey. Now I'd like to introduce Audrey. Audrey Rockman, please say a few words.
I just want to mention a little bit about the bowling alley a little bit. Mark and his family, Mark Anzalone and his family, had a vision for the place, and it involved relaxing piano playing, as former manager Joe LaGregor has told me. The Golden Branch Room was beautiful, designed by a man from California who incorporated waterfalls, plush seating with both tables and booths. The place here had businessmen lunch groups and a reputation for quality. The family built and nurtured the business on the spot for 30 years. Frank Deladone, also here today to celebrate this occasion, says the family also owned a Japanese steakhouse across the street called Shiki, and the translation of which is, you guessed it, Four Seasons. Personally, I have come to love the Four Seasons, not because I was a fan many years ago, although I always loved their songs, but because of the Tony Award-winning show Jersey Boys. The Four Seasons tradition of perseverance was still necessary about 5 years ago, when the notion of a Broadway show was just evolving. For those of you who might know Broadway trends, the show Jersey Boys was pitched to producers at a time when industry conversations about the struggling jukebox musical sounded more like money being flushed down a toilet. But like the original Four Seasons, Dodger Theatricals was willing to look beyond the naysayers and take a big risk. Just as the Four Seasons took the show on the road, touring campuses and venues across the country, as the writers of Jersey Boys put it, all the places you fly over on the way to Los Angeles, so too is the musical. Taking into account past productions and the upcoming schedule, the show will reach 25 different cities around the world, with more plans evolving all the time. Just like the original group, the touring has jumped the pond over to the UK with tremendous success, and will be migrating to Toronto this summer, and will be showing up down under in Australia next spring. Jersey Boys, benefiting from a talented creative team and 5 separate dynamite casts, stands on the shoulders of the work that began in the 50s, and tapping into that momentum continues to log unprecedented ticket sales since the show first took the stage in La Jolla, California. After seeing the show some 20 times since it opened in the fall of 2005, I just had to know more about the real-life men behind such an intriguing story. Like the band that was just 4 guys under a street lamp for a while, my tours are just fans who are fascinated by Jersey Boys. Fans who say, gee, let's get a vehicle big enough for all of us to ride together and drive around, getting a taste of an era that has been curbed lately, unfortunately, by iPods, Blackberries, and downloads. We see their homes from years ago. We see the spot where the famous Jersey contract handshake took place, and where Sherry was written when Bob Gaudio had a few minutes before heading down the Garden State Parkway one day. We take pictures in front of the first place that Tommy brought Frankie up on stage, and we see the places where the Seasons did some promotional photo shoots. I started the first tour in the winter, with the second one following in the spring, and you guessed it, the next one is this summer, July 27th. I'm going to proceed with the lessons I've learned from some Jersey Boys that you and I know about pursuing my passion. The tours have been a labor of love and respect for men and their families who've been living life full out with all the ups and downs, all the while creating music that was masterful. Charles' 1987 Time article called "A Handshake for All Seasons" was a key inspiration for the script of the play. Bob Gaudio also asked Charles to write the liner notes for the Grammy-winning Jersey Boys original Broadway cast album, and he was the associate producer of the box set Jersey Beat, the music of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Okay, now, Charles, can you tell us about our stars a little bit?
Thank you, Audrey. It's a real thrill to be here, no matter what order we go in, which is a little bit confused here. First, I need to read a brief message because it seems that news of this gathering has reached all the way overseas. Here's what the message says. The event in Union sounds absolutely wonderful. What an honor for the Four Seasons. We wish we could be with you all in New Jersey on Wednesday. Please pass on our congratulations and very best wishes to everyone, and we hope you all have a really fantastic day. This is signed Lynn Boleyn, Ken Charmer, Ray Nickel, George Ingram, and all the members of the United Kingdom Four Seasons Appreciation Society. They don't have fan clubs over in England. They have appreciation societies. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is take a little more time to recognize a member of the original Four Seasons who can be with us only in spirit today, and I refer, of course, to the late Nick Massey. Most of you know that Nick was the group's original bass singer, bass player, and vocal arranger. He's referred to in Jersey Boys as a harmony genius. The only regret we have about Nick is that he left the group far too soon. We're very honored today. You've met them already, but let me just introduce them again. We have Nick's wife, Margie. You've heard in the play about how Bob Gaudio and Frankie Valli have had a partnership on a handshake for more than 40 years, which is fantastic. Always gets a round of applause at the play. I want to tell you that Nick and Margie were together for 52 years. 51, okay. Only 51. Six. This time we're going to have a few words from Robert, Nick's oldest son.
Thank you all for coming. I remember when I was a little kid and my father came home. I was like 12 years old, and he came home and he says, our song, the group, the Four Seasons, is going to hit the #1 charts. I got a singer that sounds like an angel, and it's going to be #1 before the week passes through. Sure enough, it was #1. And they were the #1 band for 5 straight years. And my father was very proud. And he passed away, but his songs will live forever. Thank you very much.
Now, you've already met the daughters of the surviving Four Seasons. I just want to say a few words about them. I've had the good fortune to meet Danielle and Lisa at a couple of Jersey Boys things. I met Darcel and Tony for the first time today, which was really exciting, but I've been in contact with all of them by phone and email because they were a huge help on this Jersey Beat box set. One of the things we did for that was gather tributes to the Four Seasons from people like Bob Dylan, Neil Diamond, Billy Joel, Brian Wilson, all of whom are great admirers of the Four Seasons. And the daughters were the ones who helped me pick out who were the best friends of their fathers, who would most like to comment. They would say stuff like, you know, why isn't Quincy Jones on the list? He's a good friend and he loved the Four Seasons. So that's why we ended up with 89 quotes for 76 songs. And they wanted to comment on one of the songs, and so we were talking about which song, and I found out that something that I didn't know, and I know a lot about the Four Seasons, is that these four, and with Tony, were on a Four Seasons record. Did you know that? They were on the record. It was called Saturday's Father. Those of you who remember that song, remember there's a part in the middle where all you hear is the sounds of children on a playground. Well, there they are right there. They were in the record. The last thing I want to say is how proud all the children are of the accomplishments of their father. As a matter of fact, you heard Audrey refer to Jersey Babies. Danielle, so proud of her father's music that she thinks that people should start listening to it as soon as they are born. So she persuaded her father and Robbie Robinson, who's Frankie's musical director, to rearrange the songs, do nice instrumental arrangements for young children. But listen, all the adults that I've talked to like this album too. It's really great. It's called Jersey Babies. It's on sale inside in Costco. I would recommend it to everybody. And I think we have at least one more thing to do. I'm going to bring up one of the biggest Four Seasons fans, Jersey Boys fans, Howard Tucker, who's going to introduce the people who gave the Four Seasons their name. Howard Tucker.
Thank you, Charles. As Charles mentioned, I think we're all fans. I've probably seen the show half the times you have, Charles. I'm a correspondent for the Jersey Boys blog, as is Charles and Audrey, and you might want to check it out, www.jerseyboysblog.com. It's a great site. It's updated every day. First, I'd like to acknowledge from the original Four Seasons Play and Recreation Center, and you've heard their names mentioned tonight. Frank Deladone. Frank, you want to just stand up for a second and give a wave? Frank's family built and owned the Recreation Center for 30 years. And along with him, Joe LaGregor, Joe, who was the manager for 30 years. And we have a special treat here. We have the original and final cocktail waitress, Ann Egan, is here with us tonight, or this afternoon. And finally, the gentleman who put this all together today, along with Audrey, Jim Petrecka. Jim and I met about a year and a half ago, and I bid on the eBay site for one of Jim's listings. I didn't win. I didn't even get a second chance on the item. I think it was a picture. But we started corresponding, and I lost the bid, but I made a friend. Jim had a vision some time ago to mark this location and mark it in the life of the Four Seasons. After I went on Jim's eBay site, we started emailing, then we graduated to the telephone. As you remember, when there was no email, I don't think we could have ever developed that relationship. And Jim told me about his store, Yesterday's Treasures, which is on Stuyvesant Avenue in Union. And I didn't have to go on eBay anymore. I went in and I saw a whole treasure trove of memories, memorabilia. It was just terrific. It was a wonderland of things to see and learn about. And I urge all of you, if you get the chance, to stop by. It's in fact not too far from here. And they say, do what you love and the success will follow. Jim has clearly done that, both with the store and with events like this, he's keeping the history of the Four Seasons and the Jersey Boys alive and vibrant in New Jersey. So, Jim, thank you. And thanks to all of you. Jerry?
I think that concludes the program. However, is there anybody else or anything else that I missed or we missed? Okay. After you, I'm going to say one more thing.
You're going to say
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to thank Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons for this wonderful bicentennial moment that will live on forever. Thank you.
Now, before I let you go, Darcel's father, Tommy DeVito, last year or 2 years ago, made a CD. And if you would like to purchase that CD, call Jim up. He has a CD in his store. It's only $10. If you're Italian, you'll really love it. But if you like the instrumentals, it's mainly instrumental, beautiful music to have dinner to, whatever it is, it's beautiful. There are about a dozen songs on there, but at Jim's store, the CD is for sale. Okay? I did it right. I don't even know if I did it right, but Jersey Babies, of course, Jersey. We said Jersey Babies in the store. So I want to see everybody here march in the store after this is over and buy a Jersey Baby CD. Once again, how about a big round of applause for our guest of honor up here, the children of the Four Seasons and Nick's wife. Thank you for coming. Good day. God bless you all. Thank you.